Millikan's oil drop experiment. In 1909, Robert Andrews Millikan performed an experiment which determined the size of the charge on an electron. He also determined that there is a smallest unit charge, or that charge is quantized. I am going to explain that experiment and show how Millikan was able to determine the size of a charge on a single electron through this video. In Millikan's experiment, he put a charge on a very small drop of oil and measured how strong an applied electric field had to be in order to stop the oil drop from falling. Because he successfully calculated the mass of the oil drop and the force of gravity on one drop, he was then able to determine the electric charge that the drop must have. He varied the charge on different drops and eventually noticed that the charge was always a multiple of 1.6 times 10 to the power of negative 19 coulombs, which is the charge of a single electron. This concluded that it was electrons carrying this unit charge. And here's how his experiment worked out. An atomizer sprayed a fine mist of oil droplets straight into the chamber. Some of these tiny droplets fell through a hole in the upper floor. Millikan first let them fall until they reached terminal velocity. Using the microscope, he measured their terminal velocity, and by using a formula, he calculated the mass of each oil drop. Next, Millikan applied a charge to the falling drops by illuminating the bottom chamber with X-rays. This caused the air to become ionized and electrons to attach themselves to the oil drops. By attaching a battery to the plates above and below this bottom chamber, he was then able to apply an electric voltage. The electric field produced in the bottom chamber by this voltage would then act on the charged oil drops. If the voltage was just right, the electromagnetic force would just balance the force of gravity on a drop, and the drop would then hang suspended in mid-air. Here is the calculation that he used for his experiment. When a drop is suspended, its weight is exactly equal to the electric force that is applied. The values of E, which is the applied electric field, m, the mass of a drop, and g, which is equal to the acceleration due to gravity, are all known values. So you can solve for q, which is the charge on the drop. Millikan determined the charge on a drop. Then he redid the experiment a number of times, each time verifying the strength of the X-rays ionizing the air, so that differing numbers of electrons would jump onto the oil molecules each and every time. He obtained various values for Q. The charge Q on a drop was always a multiple of 1.6 times 10 to the power of negative 19 coulombs, which is the charge on a single electron. This number was the one Millikan was looking for, and it also showed that the value is quantized. The smallest unit of charge was this amount, and it was proven that this was the charge on a single electron.